there. And then after that, we'll dig into tonight's 4-game slate. And then from there, later today at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time for our VIP members, we will have our NBA pre-lock show where we will do a more in-depth deep dive into what we're doing on today's slate, which I would strongly recommend because we crushed yesterday. We had 2 major mistakes, which we'll dig into. But we got a lot right, but some big pieces wrong too. And then after that, um, answer any questions that any VIP members might have. To become a VIP member, look in the description. There's a link. Click on it. You can use the promo code Bob BOB for a discount. I post the pre-lock show in our Discord, but it's also re-uploaded on our website. So yeah, guys, let's talk about it. Let's talk about yesterday's slate with a high score of 374 points, 0.5, taking down the $100,000 tournament. Decently high point total. I see it looks like Army had a lot of our members had a good day. I know we had some quite a few 4-figure wins. I know quite a few people DM me some of their wins. We had some $100 wins as well, and also just being profitable in general is a win. And everyone who lost, I know it's always tough, and hopefully we can turn that around today. But yeah, talking about yesterday, Laurie killed me too, Andrew. He crushed me. Laurie and that center from Houston. We won't even say his name. That center from Houston. I literally back tested the slate yesterday, which you can do in the Domination Station on DFS Army's website. And if I lowered my exposure, don't even have to uncheck them, just lowered my exposure to match the field on Laurie and the center from Houston, and I also just don't boost Nikola Jokic, then I have a top 5 line. It's crazy. But that's because we hit on a lot of other things. The point guard in this top line was James Harden. We were on James Harden. Personally, for me, I have trust issues when it comes to James Harden. So I'm still struggling on being able to play him as much as I need to, even though I knew the pace was going to be there. Played him, but definitely should have played more. Desmond Bain, he was one of the guys that we boosted yesterday. I know some guys lowered their exposure to him with the news and all that sort. I didn't, even though I knew the news impacted him in theory, I still didn't lower my exposure to him. But I do understand both philosophies for people who did and didn't. The sneaky play that I was not on was Buddy Hield. Hell of a showing for him. Decent play. Jalen Smith made the player pool. He wasn't someone that I boosted, but he was the power forward in this line that did perform pretty well. We have Precious Achua, who I didn't boost, but we did talk about on either this show or the pre-lock show as someone that I could see the Raptors starting if Scotty Barnes ended up being out. My sneaky play was Anfernee Simons, who we boosted yesterday. For those of you guys who were on the pre-lock show, we boosted our exposure to him, and he did pretty well. Devin Vassell, everyone and their mom played him, so that wasn't a special play. And Yusuf Nurkic was the last util guy. And we also had him in the player pool. So overall, we had a pretty good day yesterday. Had some mishaps here and there, but overall, we crushed. So hopefully we can keep that up and keep it going for today. Let's see. What's everyone saying in the chat? Nice. Oh, well, I'm glad you did better in NFL, even if it wasn't an NBA. Yeah, players in back-to-back are a no-no. I mean, that's the philosophy that I utilize that a lot too, but it's not something that always happens. Yep, not saying that guy's name again. Yeah, Mr. 5 Cents. The Jokic joke was on everybody. All right, let's move past yesterday and move into the present. Starting off with this first game on the 4-gamer, 6-point spread. Total is the second to lowest on the slate. Starting off with the high end of the salary of Bradley Beal, and Beal he's been decent this year, but I've been surprised just because there's so many mouths to feed on this team that it's hard to trust him as he continues to get more and more expensive. So I don't know how much exposure I'll have to Beal today. It'll be interesting to see. Porzingis, no one likes to play Porzingis, but looks like he might be a little popular today. As well as Isaiah Stewart, which is a situation I want to look into a little bit more. I don't always love playing him. Okay, good. I'm glad you you cashed still. What were you saying, Fatal? Man, I was doing all types of research. I didn't do well, but I'm learning the process. Yeah, I mean, I don't do well every night. And I'm sure we'll have some of those nights and we'll have to talk about those. But it's all about just remembering, like, hey, let's just figure out what we did wrong yesterday. How can we balance that out? And for me, going back and back testing the DS and realizing that if I didn't tinker as much, I could have had a top 5 lineup. That's what I learned. So it's all about just kind of like learning and adjusting and things of that sort. But at the same time, I did adjust some of the right people, like and Fernie. So it just kind of goes both ways. Other guys who look like they could be potentially interesting. Denny Avdija always projects well. He's just cheap and at times he just always projects well, but he has a lot of risk. So I always caution people when they consider playing him because he can easily just put up a complete zero. But yeah, this game it's fine. I mean, Cade Cunningham's also present here too. Just looks like a decent play. Jaden Ivey has come out strong so far. Without any injuries or anything like that, as long as that everyone stays healthy in this game, it doesn't really look super interesting. Why is Graham at 0%? Why is Graham at 0%? Let's see, Wayne. Where Devontae Graham? Oh, yeah. See, it's still early. I always try to caution projections themselves and projected ownership. All of that will change dramatically as the day continues. It's still way too early in the day for any of this to be super accurate. All right, moving on. The Mavericks Pelicans game. We've talked about this a ton, but this game could be huge for this slate. If there's a ton of people questionable, we know, as my guy Wayne pointed out, Ingram is out. Zion Williamson is questionable. Herb Jones questionable. We might be targeting the Pelicans a ton here. And there's already another spot that we are going to target pretty heavily as well, just because of people being out. Of course, like, we'll probably have a little bit of Zion exposure if he ends up playing. But CJ McCollum, smash spot for him. Valanciunas. These are all spots where you're going to want some exposure if these guys all end up being out. Is Christian Wood getting more minutes? That's something that we can look into a little bit later, and we can talk about on the pre-lock show. I didn't look into it ahead of time, so we can look into the trend for sure. Trey Murphy, yeah, I mean, I like Trey Murphy a lot more if these guys end up being out, but he's definitely in a solid spot. Oh, are they already confirmed out? Okay, good. If they're already officially out, then this is going to be a slam spot that we can really look to focus on. Thanks for that information, B-dubs. So yeah, we're definitely going to want to target this game a lot, and really, and I'm just saying it broadly because it doesn't really matter who at this point. It's just we're playing Pelicans. Um, on the Mavs side, Christian Wood, Doncic, the starters primarily. We might be able to get cute in a few spots, but I really wouldn't want to. At least as of right now, I'm not too interested. I think we might have some better spots, but we'll see. The next game, the spread is huge. Huge. So there's definitely some concern on a small slate with blowouts. That's when you start to get some of these like bench warmers can really start to take over a slate. So that's something to consider if you're that kind of player where you want to target the bench players. You're looking for the high spreads where they're going to get a few minutes, and you're going to play that one $3,000 or $3,200,000 guy, and then have a ton of other studs that went off for you. That's a way of playing. I don't really play that way, but it's a way of going about it. So Paul George is out for the Clippers. And so whenever that happens, you're going to see a ton of value on this team. And that's personally when I like to play Clippers players, or when they have injuries or when people are out. It just makes it a lot easier. And you can tell just by looking at the domination station, Norman Powell is popping, Robert Covington's popping. I wouldn't be shocked if our guy Luke Kennard and Nicholas Batum are popping. Nicholas Batum is, Luke Kennard's doing pretty well. So, like, yeah, the Clippers are that team that you're going to want to target from the forward position because of that news. So yeah, it should be interesting to see. Kawhi, he's always in play. But the worry for him is just, is he going to be able to pay off? He's not super expensive, but will he be able to pay off if this game does blow out? And will this game blow out with Paul George out, SGA's out? Will it blow out with those two stars out? SGA being out does, of course, make us like guys like Lou Dort and Trey Man more. The hard part is we're starting to get into a zone where there's a lot of value. But that's a good thing. On a 4-gamer, a ton of value. You get to play around with the stars in different positions and puzzle it out that way. The one thing I always try to caution people with when it comes to the Clippers, definitely on these small slates, as the day progresses and as we see where ownership actually starts to fall, we will see everyone start to lean towards popular chalk. And the chalk is going to be good chalk. I'm not going to say it's bad. But with the Clippers in particular, there's almost always like one guy we're missing. Like we're all on Luke Kennard, but it ends up being Trey Mann or Mike or Nicholas Batum that day. So what I'm saying is, don't be afraid to play other players on this team outside of like the popular chalk guy, because there's still going to be room for somebody else to go off too. We've seen that story play out way too many times. Now, this last game, Golden State Suns game, it's always a game I kind of dread. It's fun basketball to watch, but it's tough DFS to play, man. There's just like a lot of high ceiling guys with solid usage, but not great usage because they all eat into each other's usage because all of their teams have solid depth. So it's tough this early to really decide who we want to play in this game because of the stud situation, and we have to really dig into the matchups and things of that sort and see who's going to have that ceiling game, if anyone, from like the Steph Curry, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, Andrew Wiggins range. Ayton's been too cheap for a while, so everyone's been playing him to some levels of success. I'm sure we'll have some like Bridges and Cam Johnson exposure as well, just because like they're mid-range guys, so they help balance out a build. When it comes to the Golden State pieces, it's tough just the way they balance their minutes out. It's hard to really. They don't have like a guy who just really goes out and crushes their projection consistently enough for me. Wiseman, okay, Mr. 5 cents, I see you. You going for Wiseman today? Ceiling spot that I think we're gonna have to add him in. Like I said, guys, it's still early, so definitely still some things we can do. But yeah, I mean, that wouldn't shock me if he does well. I mean, I would need to dig into his minutes and just make sure that they make sense for his price and things of that sort. Just make sure that he's a good value. I wouldn't want to pay for him if he's priced as a premium. So I would have to dig into that a little bit more. But that's it, guys. Like 4-game slate. We're gonna dig into this a bit more for the pre-lock show. Figure out what we're doing. Again, link is in the description for that show. Or to join DFS Army. It should be a interesting slate. There's some injury news, which always makes things a little bit more interesting. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. But I look forward to you guys joining me later and talk to you guys then. Bye.